months of the year. And it's very rare that rain will fall in October. So they've got to figure out how to stretch the water supply from here until there. They just yesterday imposed a 30% usage reduction. They're forcing a schedule for when you water. They're forcing that hotels and people with pools use water more conservatively as of yesterday. And they have put in place a, I believe, $1,000 fine for first violations, bigger fines for pursuant violations as of yesterday. Yes?
That's the Montecito one?
That's the Montecito one. Santa Barbara City Council declared a stage 1 drought emergency on Tuesday. That's the first time they've done that since 1989. Stage 1 is usually education and asking nicely. Stage 2 is legally mandated reductions of a certain volume with fines. You may know that Lake Cachuma is at, 30% of capacity right now? And the Gibraltar Reservoir is at 11% of average. And here's a funny thing. During the drought, people don't have to water the lawn very much because the rain keeps watering the lawn for them. But now that we've been in a drought, people are using even more water for lawns than usual because with no rainfall, you got to water the hell out of it. Somebody said at the Montecito meeting, and I quote, "Green lawns are greed." Green grass is greed. There you go. And I think that's maybe pushing it a little bit, but kind of funny.
Did you go to it?
I did not. I read about it in the newspaper. I don't go to meetings. I tickle my children in the afternoons. No, when I talk about taking a bath with Carlton today, that'll be creepy. Okay. There's a Green Club meeting in the greenhouse today. And now take out your 8.2, which I stamped a few minutes ago. We will start by talking about groundwater vocabulary.
Jose, what's the difference between the water table and the watershed?
I'll get that. So first, please look up. Stop talking, stop talking. I'll ask somebody to find this one, then that one, then this one. What is the definition of groundwater?
Water table.
Now, when we say below the water table, that confuses a lot of people because they have the wrong idea of what a water table is. A better way to think about it, groundwater is water in the ground. Period.
0.8 kilometers. How do you figure that?
What?
Is it like 0.8 kilometers underground?
Oh no. Some places, it's like right there, like a couple of feet.
Beach.
When you go to the beach, you make a hole in the sand and the water starts to pour in, that's groundwater. Technically, that's the salt water intruding into the ground. It's called the interface zone or the saline interface zone, but yeah, it's basically groundwater. Groundwater is the water underground. Now, what is an aquifer?
Underwater reservoir.
What?
Underwater reservoir?
Yes, underwater reservoir, but please look up. When I say underwater reservoir, people think that. Like a pool of water, but it ain't so.
It's just an easy way to get the water out, but the ground's kind of loose.
Yeah, the ground's a little bit loosey-goosey. It's like broken up rock. Remember how we talked about petroleum as like an impurity in rocks? Same thing is true with groundwater. Groundwater is an impurity in rocks, and those rocks are called the aquifer. Like this, that would be the aquifer. The plastic cup and all the ice cubes, that's the aquifer. In real terms, the bedrock and the layers of rock that hold water above it, that is the aquifer. It's a geological feature. You can take all the water out of the aquifer, and it is still an aquifer. It's just now a dry or empty aquifer. Aquifer is the piece of the ground that contains the water. And what is the water table?
Upper surface, like groundwater.
Yeah, the upper surface, like this. That is the water table, the upper surface of the groundwater. So please look up. My well has reached the middle of the groundwater in the aquifer. My well has just breached the water table. The water table is just the surface of the groundwater. So when we say the groundwater is the water below the water table, that just means the groundwater is everything except for the surface of the groundwater, which sounds kind of dumb. So please look up. Aquifer is the container. Groundwater is the water there. Water table is the surface of that water. Anybody I can help with vocab? Yes? Great. This is a slightly more complicated water cycle than the song you learned in the first grade, but it's the same thing. Water evaporates from surface water, or key terminology, transpires, as in transpirar, like sweat. It sweats out of plant material. That's the uphill part. In the clouds, it will condense, but here's a funny little fact for you. Water does not go from water vapor to liquid in clean air. It'll stay water vapor, and if it's cold enough, it can go from water vapor to crystal form. We call those snowflakes. Remember how we talked about water structure, ice, hexagons, hexagonal? Snowflakes are hexagonal because they are forming out of the water vapor, clicking into this particular pattern. Why is hail not hexagonal?
A lot of them stuck together.
Because of what?
A lot of snowflakes stuck together.
No, it isn't. Why is hail not hexagonal? Because it's a frozen water drop. So it made rain, and the rain fell through cold air and got solid. So hail is frozen rain. Snow is frozen water vapor. Water vapor does not go into rain unless there is a little solid particle called a condensation nucleus. It's a little particle of something, like dust or pollen or ashes. That's why rain delivers nutrients to sterilized environments. Like after a volcano goes off, that rock will eventually develop dirt because every drop of rain, if you look on a microscope slide, every single drop of rain has a little tiny something in there. Yes?
If hail's frozen raindrops, why are there sometimes really huge, like, blocks of hail?
No, because the hail went through wet areas, then went through ice, then went through wet area, went through cold, then hotter, then. So that hail will pick up water droplet because there's turbulence in the air. So you've got rain falling with ice, falling with rain, and it'll conglomerate.
Wait, so you said vapor doesn't turn into rain unless there is this nuclei?
Yeah, there's a little particulate. Like you'll notice when you're in the shower, it doesn't start raining all over the bathroom, even though it's pretty steamy. But if you have a cold soda, it will make condensation and weep. That doesn't happen all over the place because you're looking for the particulates. Yes?
So is rainwater safe to drink and stuff then?
Safe water is usually safe to drink because the air is usually safe to breathe.
Okay.
But if the air was unsafe to breathe, like radioactive fallout floating around, that rainfall would be carrying fallout. So that would not be safe to drink. Yes?
So does it make sense to say it in like urban settings where there are like is more particulate matter that will rain more often?
Suppose. Although we're usually talking about different layers of the atmosphere here. Rain becomes condensation really high up.
That kind of
Usually far higher than the particulates will rise. Yes?
So if we made the air cleaner, would it rain more?
It would rain less.
Oh, it would rain less.
You ever heard of seeding rain?
yeah.
That where the airplanes burn like some aluminum something or other and those ashes make rain happen? That's why, because it's a really fine ash. Rain dances. People go up on a mesa that creates an updraft. You know how upwelling? You guys know how upwelling works? So you blow offshore and the water's drawn upward. So imagine, you also get like updraft. When wind hits a mesa, that creates an updrafting wind, and you've got people up there kicking up dust, and you can really make it rain. It's not a joke. Did everybody think that people were just stupid for hundreds of years and all of a sudden got smarter? No, you were stupid for doubting them. Rain dances actually really work as long as you have water vapor above you, like clouds, significant wind, which often comes with a cold or a hot front, and that wind will create an updraft so the dust you've kicked up rises to the clouds and really makes it rain.
Shouldn't we have people doing rain dances amongst
We don't have updraft and we don't have the dusty thing that's really close to the clouds. Yes?
Are the condensation nuclei in the dirt then that's being...
The dirt is the nuclei. It's just a little piece of dust is what it takes to make it rain. William, are you making a face at me?
Yeah. Wouldn't you have to have like thousands of people sitting on top of a mountain like throwing dust? I don't like.
Yeah, it kind of takes a bit, yeah.
Okay.
So, you gotta assume that it's just like that critical tipping point. I'm not saying that you're gonna make a rainstorm that's gonna like flood the Colorado desert. But you do kind of launch little bits of rain.
So in deserts, is there like particular matter in the air?
Well, wind usually does launch rain because it gets dust up into the higher part of the atmosphere.
But like in the desert, it just happens to be less dust or like.
I mean, I don't know what we're talking about. The desert having less or more.
If there's no wind in
Not
the,
very much rain. So
if there's no wind in the
That's for a bunch of other reasons too. Less evaporation, and most of the air masses have dropped their moisture on mountains that are usually coastal. Other issues also.
Question. So transpiration is just another way of saying evaporation.
Evaporation from living things is called transpiration.
And then runoff is just runoff.
Yes, it runs off. Students, I'm sorry. I know that some of you don't really feel the need to write down notes or pay attention, but I plan to use my last 3 minutes. Don't disrupt the students that are here to focus. Okay. If that's it for vocab, I'd like to talk a little bit about groundwater. Imagine Carlton is in the bath. And I walk in and I say, "Oh, hello there, Carlton." And I use my bucket, watch this, to scoop out some bath water. And really quickly I go, and I take that bucket out of his bath. Does that leave a hole in the bath water?
he bathes in cold water.
Because, the water will have higher pressure at the bottom and it'll flood in and replace itself. For a split second, there probably was a little depression in the water, but just for a split second. Then I go, "Get ready, Carlton," and I pour the water back into his bath. Is that going to make a pile of water in his bath? No, maybe for a split second, but that water will level itself. Now look, groundwater is different. groundwater does make what's called a zone of depression and a recharge mound because, you know, there's all this dirt in the way. Groundwater, like Carlton's Bath, will eventually level itself, but it's moving much more slowly because it's squeezing through little bits of rock. So you see, when you have a well that's sucking out groundwater, it will remove all the water from those rocks. It's going to take a while for that water to come back. You ever done that thing where you go to the beach and you dig a hole and it takes a little while for the water to come back? Same idea.
Is it zone or cone?
Actually, both are used. So people call it cone of depression or a zone of depression. Same thing.
Why is there a mound?
What?
There's a mound under the lake.
Yes, because the lake is infiltrating into the ground. That water will percolate through the rock, and it takes a while for it to spread out. You see, when I pour it into Carlton's Bath, it goes right away because there's nothing resisting it laterally. But here, where it's percolating into the rock, it's going to take a while. So it literally does make a high spot in the water table. Water tables are three-dimensional. And by the way, some dude in Santa Barbara just invented some software that lets you map the three-dimensional thing about groundwater. It's like a Google Earth for groundwater, and he's like a gazillionaire. Because finding the water table high spots and low spots makes a really big difference. Look, even up in the mountains there's groundwater. It's just riding the bedrock all the way down to the ocean. We pick up here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Is it rain we just had?
Yeah. I don't know when
What is it? Sign